Hey travelers, today we're kicking off our slow travels through Southeast Asia. Chris and I are flying from Vancouver, Canada to Singapore via Hong Kong on Cathay Pacific. We're going to tell you about our check-in process with Cathay Pacific and some of the issues we faced, how we handled the very small 7-kilogram carry-on limit, what the flights to Hong Kong and Singapore were like, all of the forms we needed to fill out to land in Singapore, what our transfer through the Hong Kong airport was like, how we checked out the waterfall at the Singapore airport, and how we got from the Singapore airport to our hotel. Let's start with the issues we faced at check-in. Because we're slow travelers, we only booked a one-way ticket to Singapore, not a round-trip ticket. When we tried to check in, the Cathay Pacific website gave us an error saying we didn't have the right visa. As Canadians only going to Singapore for a few days as tourists, we shouldn't need a visa. We Googled a few things and we think we were getting the error because we're not booked on that round-trip ticket. We did book a bus ticket on the 707 bus line from Singapore to Malaysia as our onward ticket, so hopefully everything will be okay at the airport. Before we got to the airport, we also filled out our Singapore arrival declaration forms online. This is required for most tourists, though what you need depends on the country you hold the passport for, among other things. Now let's talk about Cathay Pacific's really restrictive 7-kilogram carry-on limit. That's only 15 pounds. If you've been watching our channel, you know that Chris and I like to travel carry-on only. But since we're slow traveling around Southeast Asia for the next few months, 15 pounds is pretty tight. And that limit includes both our personal item and our carry-on. So our plan is to take our carry-on bags like we always do, but not meet the weight requirement. If they tell us our bags are too heavy, we'll pull out some of the items into our small backpacks that we keep in our bags and check everything else. And then hope everything arrives in Singapore.
We have our boarding passes. We were right. The reason we weren't able to check in online was because we didn't have a round-trip ticket booked. But because we were able to prove onward travel with our bus ticket to Malaysia, we got our boarding pass. We were also able to keep our carry-on luggage with us.
Because our flight to Singapore is over 14 hours, we splurged on the bigger premium economy seats. And those came with amenities like a pillow, blanket, water bottle, and amenities kit. Cathay Pacific also has a huge selection of movies. It took me a while just to even scroll through them all. Our first meal was chicken on rice with the usual sides. The bun was served warm, which I wish was more common. The flight went by quickly as I slept for most of it in our comfy seats. Next thing I knew, it was breakfast time with both traditional Western breakfast and noodle options. Once we landed in Hong Kong, it took us about 15 minutes to walk to our next gate.
30 minutes to go.
We had to go through a security screening again, but we did not need to clear immigration. The entire process was pretty easy.
May we have your attention, please? The aircraft is now being refueled. We are in Singapore.
I've never been so excited to be in an airport before.
Landing at the Singapore airport, our first goal was to check out the famous Jewel and waterfall. We wouldn't be coming back to this airport, so we wanted to check it out now. To do that, since we landed at Terminal 4 with Cathay Pacific, we just hopped on the bus to T1, which has the Jewel.
There are plenty of fun-looking paid attractions here, but if all you want to do is look at the waterfall and admire it, then there's plenty of spots to do that for free.
I'm not sure how much of an advantage the Sky Bridge gives you, but there are lots of platforms around on the second and, I don't know, first and second floor, I guess. And if you just look down behind me here, you can see all the people getting their pictures taken.
You can see that the waterfall actually goes below ground. The engineers designed it that way so that the water wouldn't hit the bottom and then splash everyone.
From this angle over here, you can really see the off-centeredness of it. You can see the monorail going just behind me, and they had to build the waterfall off-center to go around the monorail.
To get to our hotel, we just walked over the bridge to Terminal 2 and followed the signs for the MRT. We just tapped our credit card to get through the gates.
We're going to Tanah Merah, and we're going to switch trains and go down giraffes.
Now we're in Singapore and have 3 days to explore the city. As slow travelers, only having 3 days in a city feels a bit tight. And that's our video of flying Cathay Pacific from Vancouver to Singapore to kick off our slow travels through Southeast Asia. In our next video, we'll show you everything we did in Singapore, where we stayed, and how much it cost us.